จะเอ๋ฮัลโหลฮัลโหลฮัลโหลฮัลโหลสวัสดีจ้าสวัสดีจ้าโอ้ยอยู่ๆก็ร้อนตายละแป๊บนึงนะสวัสดีค่ะสวัสดีทุกคนเลยค่ะสวัสดีวีดาลีสวัสดีคุณมิ้นฮัลโหลอ่านหนังสือสอบกันเธอใกล้สอบแล้วทุกคนเคกำลังจะเป็นอ่านจนเป็นผีบ้าอีกรอบแล้วล่ะก็ต้องอ่านเป็นผีบ้าแล้วสวัสดีค่ะสวัสดีท็อปซี่สวัสดีมีดาลีครับผมสวัสดีครับสวัสดีบูทาสวัสดีแฟรี่โซครับสวัสดีจ้าโอลา hi คุณเจคุณเจ it's time for me to being obsessed with reading ฮ่าฮ่า I'm not happy at all
You'll normally figure that
โอ้
out
ตกใจโทษทีพอดีเปิดพอดแคสต์ทิ้งไว้มาเล่นเองมาคุยต่อนะจ๊ะอันนี้ลองอ่านแบบโพโมโดโรนะคะก็คือจับเวลา25 นาทีพักมันต้องพัก5 หรือ 10 นาทีวะเปิ้ลดิโอ้ยมันร้อนอ่ะพักย่อย5 นาทีโอเคงั้นต้องเปลี่ยนนี้เหลือ5นะจ๊ะสวัสดีค่ะสวัสดีคิมโอ้ไม่เห็นนานมากอีกแล้วคิมกำลังขับรถไปขับรถก่อนไปขับรถก่อนเด้อโอ้ยร้อนอ่ะขออนุญาตเปิดแอร์ไม่ไหวแล้วคือเพิ่งปิดไปนะเอาจริงมาพูดเด้อรอแป๊บนึงขอล้างจานแป๊บ ใส่แบบว่าเปิดแอร์แล้วต้องล้างจานอ๋อวันนี้เกดทำอกไก่กินนะคะใช่ก็เลยกินอกไก่ไป1 ชิ้นครึ่งแล้วก็ไข่ต้ม1 ฟองแล้วก็มีกาแฟ1 แก้วแล้วในตอนนี้ playing Subnautica 2 right now โอ้ไอ้ถ่ายเลยคนได้เล่นเกมเมื่อเช้าพัก10 นาทีก็ไม่รู้ไงว่ามันต้องพักกี่นาทีก็เลยไปเซิร์ชมาก็เลยเปลี่ยนเป็น5 นาทีใช่แล้วเราเพิ่งไลฟ์เมื่อเช้าไปเองนี่เนาะเวลาก่อนทำงานไกลก็งี้แหละขับรถตลอดทักปลอดภัยจ้าทานข้าวยังทานแล้วอยากกินอีกนะแต่ว่าอิ่มแล้วพี่เกดอันยองสวัสดีจ้าไดมอนวะไดมอนต้องไดมอนต้องงองูไดมอนอันยองค่ะสวัสดีค่ะคุณไม้โอเคเรามาเริ่มอ่านกระเรดีไหมคะเรามาเริ่มอ่านกันเลยไหมเริ่มอ่านเลยก็ได้นะอ่านเลยแล้วกันอ่านเลยนะเริ่มแล้วนะ5 4 3 2ซาโตะนะถ้าระหว่างที่จับเวลาอยู่นี่นะคะจับเวลาตรงนี้นะคะเห็นไหมคะนี่นะคะอันนี้คือจับเวลานะคะถ้าหลอดสีเหลืองมันหมดเพราะว่าเราจะหันมาคุยกับทุกคนโอเคไหมหรือว่าเราอาจจะมาทักมาคุยกับทุกคนบ้างระหว่างที่มันจับเวลาอยู่นะสวัสดีคุณตีค่ะสวัสดีค่ะมาเลเซียฮัลโหลสวัสดีจ้าทุกคนอย่าลืมทักทายคุณมาเลเซียกันด้วยนะโอ้ยหนุ่มจะสอบไฟนอลแล้วผมสติแตกมากเมื่อเช้าผมแบบแกล้งบ้าอยู่หลายชั่วโมงแบบอยู่อย่างเงี้ยแต่ผมก็แบบมันทันถ้าเราเอาแต่ปล่อยเวลาไปเรื่อยมันจะไม่ทันถ้าเราค่อยๆอ่านไปเรื่อยๆมันจะทันไหมไม่รู้ผมรู้สึกผมคนอ่านหนังสือใช้เวลานานมากเลยตายแล้วใครทุกคนจับเวลาแล้วไม่พูดท่านมาเองเริ่มไปอ้าวคุณกลายเป็นคนน่ะว่างงานอ้าวเป็นกรรมคุณอยากกลับไปเรียนว่าอย่างนี้ก็ว่างเลยดิคุณอย่างนี้ก็ว่างเลยผมก็อยากเป็นคนว่างงานนะผมรู้สึกว่ามันไม่ต้องทำอะไรดิฉันเล่นเกมสัก12 ชั่วโมงต่อวันเดี๋ยววันนี้นั่งวาดงานอยู่กับน้องได้เลยผมปวดแขนมากเลยเพราะเมื่อวานผมเล่นอัปเปอร์มาผมเล่นเวทมาตื่นมาวันนี้โคตรจะปวดแขนเลยฮิโมราจิ ถ้าว่างงานแล้วเงินไหลเข้าตลอดนี่ก็โอเคอะคนชราไงรับเงินบำนาญพี่ไทยเน้นความไม่เชื่อแกบอกเลยนะว่าวันนี้แกง่วงแบบไรจนง่วงอะได้กระดกมอนสเตอร์นะคะจริงๆเปิดกล้องได้นะถ้าอยากให้เปิดนะเดี๋ยวค่อยทำตอนพักเนาะได้เลยคุณคีไว้เจอกันเดี๋ยวไว้วันไหนไลฟ์พูดคุยแล้วมานั่งเมาส์กันนะคะโอเคก็ต้องอ่านหนังสือเหมือนกันขอโทษจริงๆที่แบบว่าเมาส์ทุกคนเยอะไม่ได้
academically and at school, they actually rejected these methods. These methods were so bad for them that they never turned them into habits. And instead, they had to examine how their brain first learned to apply the slate. So the methods and strategies they coming up with were actually more cognitively aligned for their brain. And I even see the opposite. Work with PhD candidates will be academically excellent in their entire life. And then when it comes to getting a ceiling on their current methods and needing to upgrade that, they find it very, very challenging to change their methods because those habits are so important. And these instances, those learners have engaged in neuroplasticity a lot. Their brain has changed and adapted and has molded itself to be really efficient at this thing. It's just that the thing it got really good at is just this stuff. And these are not processes that are conducive to effective learning in the brain. So if you're in this position now where you've got this existence that cognitive processes of learning that you're really used to, you've been using them for years, and now suddenly you feel like you're progressively overwhelmed. It's too much to learn, there's not enough time, but the way you're trying to learn feels like how you've always been learning. That's what's comfortable to you. It should be working, but it's not. That's happening, and that's a sign that you need to actually retrain and rewire the brain because you are hitting the limit of performance and results that you can reach when you keep learning with those patterns of thinking. So the question is, what are the good patterns of thinking? What are those processes and patterns and habits that are conducive to really effective learning? Good question. Glad I asked. 20 years ago, no one would ever tell you this is how learning works because the research wasn't really there. Over the last 20 years of research, we have learned a lot about how learning works. So while we don't know absolutely everything, there are certain principles that we know must be met. Do not meet these certain processes or principles, the quality of learning is not good. So first of all, we know that memory is a symptom. It is not that people have a good memory or have a poor memory. It is that the processes you use may lead to a good memory, where sometimes the processes you use may lead to poor memory. We also know that cognitive processes are much more important than physical processes. So it doesn't matter if only the brain looks this way versus the way it looks this way. What matters is what goes on inside the brain when you consume that information. Once that information enters your eyes, enters your ears, and gets inside your brain, what do you do with that? What thoughts do you have about this information? Those are the processes that dictate how good your attention can be and how good your depth of understanding is. And we know that more integrated processes, this is what I'm talking about learning, are vastly superior to isolated processes. So when that information comes into your brain, if you think about that in a way that's related to the picture, looking for patterns, seeing how it connects, looking for relevance and ways to make it relevant, those thoughts, even if you don't get to a clear answer about those thoughts, the thinking in itself builds a stronger memory and deepens your understanding. Hopefully, you should see a trend here, which is that these effective methods more closely mirror the type of thinking that your brain is well adapted to do. Looking for patterns in the information, which process, not just doing the same thing over and over again, moving backwards. So there's a text. When you read that song, are you doing complex, engaged thinking mentally with what you read? Not really. Hoping that the words into your eyeball somehow that's going to turn into memory with enough repetition. Very next. And how difficult, how much effort, how engaging is it? Not very, because if it was, probably wouldn't be falling asleep. Now let's contrast this with another technique which is very popular and genuinely pretty effective, which is to teach someone else what you've learned. So the very fact that you are trying to use a different process to consolidate your learning, that's good. You will also have to recall what you've learned, bring it together, figure out a logical way to teach someone else, and actually generate that teaching. That's good. And if you ever try teaching, it's a lot harder than just passively reading. So from this one, this is why the idea of teaching to a 10-year-old is especially effective, because it takes this integrative thinking part and it increases the amount of effort and engagement. Because if you're teaching it to a 10-year-old, you have to not only organize your thoughts, create a flow that's logical and makes sense, but then you have to simplify it. So you have to evaluate how well you understand this thing, make something that's simple and accurate and comprehensive. That is very difficult and very mentally engaging. And a person who's wired to learn really effectively naturally leans towards using methods and strategies that promote this kind of thinking. Whereas the person whose habits and comfortable strategies of learning are generally like this, not very integrated. They're more just doing the same technique over and over again, thinking about information in isolation, usually not moving much. When you've been doing this for years, these people will have brains that become wired to find learning difficult. So the way they go from a brain that is not wired effectively to becoming wired is to understand what these processes are, what they should be doing, and slowly immerse yourself in these patterns of thinking. Over time, the brain adopts this pattern and slowly rewire neurons. At least that is the big picture. Like I mentioned before, there are certain requirements that have to be met. It's not as simple as saying, hey, start learning like this, and it's going to change dramatically. There's actually certain conditions that you need to meet to make neuroplasticity work for you. Otherwise, like I said, it's going to take years and years to done with the requirements for neuroplastic change. There are 8 of these requirements, and I'm going to go fairly quickly into it because I don't want this to become a 6-hour video. But if any of these want to go more in depth on the list of find information, use my free newsletter. I go through some of these things. For example, walk through these different newsletters, give you a few more ideas in terms of how to implement these requirements for neuroplastic change. So if you'd like to join that, it's totally free. Choose the Instagram. You can link to that in the description down below. Starting with the first requirement for rapid neuroplastic change, which is intention. Now, it's going to be a lot easier for me to explain intention and all the other principles if you sort of visualize the thinking happening in the brain. So this draw this Venn diagram. This thing here is called an axis, like a highway for the electrical signal to the brain. So when you have thoughts, they're going up and down this highway, and it terminates in this area called a synapse. The synapse is the connection between two neurons. So this here is neuron number 1, and this here is neuron number 2, and this is another axis. So if you have a thought, what's going to happen is that it's going to travel down here, it's going to cross this connection, this synapse, and it's going to travel down this axon. So your brain is made up of trillions, hundreds of trillions of these synapses. They form this extremely dense integrated network. That is pretty much the brain. So let's say we kind of zoom out from this and it looks like this. You've got these different brain connections. Each of these lines, an axon, Let's say you now learn about these effective methods and learn about this stuff. And so you give it a go, you sit down, you read material about the study, you read a few lines, try to form right now. You're not going to really get any because the intensity of that stimulus it's kind of like going to the gym, lifting up a weight, one rep, being like, am I stronger yet? No, not even a little. This threshold that you're willing to reach that your classification actually in is sometimes actually fairly high. And a simple rule of thumb that I recommend is that you should calibrate the intensity so that it's always challenging. When you're learning a new skill, if you want to improve at that skill, get better at it, get used to that skill, you should practice in a way where you feel challenged. You don't get good at something by getting to perfection at an easy level. You get good at something by getting good enough at a certain level, and then moving on to the next level where you're really challenged. So if you are, let's say that you're being really good at this kind of learning, there's a 10 out of 10. Right? You do all of these processes really, really well. That's a 10 out of 10. Let's say that 1 out of 10 is that everything you do is very, very isolated, very passive learning. So challenging you if you are at 1 out of 10, maybe just to get to a 2 out of 10 or 3 out of 10. At this point, all of your problems are already not being solved. You do not have to problem. It is a little bit better than it was before. There is incremental bits of progress that's being made. And to achieve that is challenging and it's effortful enough for a while. It's not going to be difficult. At that point, you can learn a 3 out of 10. Now, your next step is a 5 out of 10. Obviously, if you're starting from 5 out of 10, your next step is going to be a 7 out of 10. You don't need to stay at 5 out of 10 and aim for a 3 out of 10 now everyone else. So this is really important because your own fit is the only way that
ทุกคนทำอะไรกัน
and it's up to you to recognize whether you are able to persist through that challenge and feel that difficulty and stay there, or whether you hit that difficulty and bounce back and retreat as possible. This is probably one of those reasons why people really struggle with creating this movement change. Learning that every time it gets difficult, they instinctively come back again, which is actually preventing their brain from firing. Now, I said that you don't want to make it too challenging. So if you are at a 1 out of 10, you don't want to aim for 5 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 straight away. The idea here is that your patterns that exist might look like this. The pattern that you need to get in might be this. But this connection for your brain, it doesn't actually exist. So you're basically trying to use a pathway that you don't have. This is tied to this idea of proximal development. This term that we use for things like psychologists find concept. Basically, the best point of learning is just outside of your current comfort zone. This is your current comfortability. You want to be in this zone of proximal development, which is things that are just beyond the current where you know we are in that area is that we have some errors that feel challenging or we don't feel comfortable. These are actually good things that allow us to do this. So right here is Goldilocks zone you want to hit, which is zone of proximity, but not too easy, too hard. Third one here is the most effective way of getting good at something and
อ๋อเพิ่งเห็นว่า ถึงเบรกแล้ว เดี๋ยวย้อนกลับยังไง
slightly different challenging things over and over again. So for example, let's say that there's a specific type of math problem that you get really
โอเค
while your brain
break
so there might be
พยายามจะโพโมโดโรอยู่ พยายามอยู่
very simple
โอ้ยปวดไหล่ปวดแขน ปวดมาก โอ้ my god นี่สินะ การเล่นเวท านก็ไม่ได้คิดว่าตัวเองเล่นหนักนะเล่นแค่4 ท่าอย่างนี้ก็แปลว่าถ้ามันปวดแปลว่ามันถูกต้องแล้วล่ะ คือเกดอะทักชวนเพื่อนไปอ่านหนังสือตั้งแต่2 ชั่วโมงที่แล้วเว้ยจนตอนเนี้ยเพื่อนยังไม่ตอบเราเกดก็เลยตั้งไลฟ์เราคิดว่าคงไม่น่าได้ไปแล้วก็เลยเปิดไลฟ์แต่ว่าถ้าเพื่อนทักมาระหว่างนั้นหมายถึงว่าทักมาระหว่างไลฟ์ว่าโอเคได้เลยคือเพื่อนมันไม่อ่านแล้วก็ไม่ตอบด้วยนะใช่แปลว่าเราแล้วถ้าเพื่อนทักมาหลังจากนั้นผมจะทำไงดีต้องไปอยู่ไหมไม่รู้ช่างมันไปเรื่องของอนาคตให้กำลังใจพี่เกดอ่านหนังสือ Who is your พี่คุณเจแต่ก็ขอบคุณสำหรับกำลังใจแต่ว่าคุณเจบอกคุณเจเล่นซับทูนิก้าไม่ใช่หรอบางทีอาจจะเปลี่ยนเป็นโอวอชแล้วมันมิ้นนั่งวาดรูปมันมิ้นจะไปออกวุ้นหรือเปล่าเร็วๆนี้มีไหมขายได้นะสวัสดีคันแท็กค่ะเขาสวัสดีพี่คันแท็กเขาทุกคนเลยทักทายพี่คันแท็กด้วยนะคะฮัลโหลอ๋อเราบอกเราจะเปิดกล้องนี้ใช่ไหมแล้วแบตกล้องหมดก็ตัวใครตัวมันเด้อไหนดูสิ
about the fact that you might have inconsistency or you're making errors. It's just all part of the learning process. The fourth point here is frequency.
เหนื่อยมากเลยเหรอเธอทำไมคิดอย่างนั้น
Wait one time, do one repetition, wondering if you're strong or not. You can't go to the gym, do a single.
ไปจริงเหรอบูธไหนขายเร็วเลยนั่งปั่นอยู่ปลายเดือนนี้หมายถึงว่าเดดไลน์ให้เขาให้คือปลายเดือนนี้เหรอหรือว่าออกบูธปลายเดือนนี้ใกล้แล้วนี่
This all has to happen at a certain level of frequency for to promote that neuroplastic change. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to send this concentrated burst of signals to the brain saying, hey, here are some pathways we want to strengthen and make more efficient. And then it's going to start making it more efficient. And then a week later, it's going to realize, hey, guess we don't need this.
เปิดกล้องหู
It's going to
อะไรอะเป็นไรอะ
You know how they say that
โปรดีจากไหนเนี่ย
never forget? That's false. If you give it enough time, you will forget how to ride a bike because your brain is constantly pruning out pathways and connections that it doesn't need. Now again, practically speaking, if you're learning to learn, this is easy because you're probably learning continuously. You're not just learning something for 1 week and then never learning anything for the next year. Every single week, there's probably something new for you to learn. So all you need to do is make sure that when you have those learning sessions, you try to hit a relatively intentional method of learning at a certain level of
มันจะความไหมน้อง
So with that level of pride, and again, naturally, the frequency will change itself. I will mention something though, which is that thinking about challenging yourself is not the same as actually challenging yourself. I have a lot of people who will watch my videos and go through the program and they spend a lot of time thinking about the methods, the strategies, the theory. So the frequency at which they are engaging with the material is very high, but they actually only practice and apply that skill maybe once or twice. It's not about how much you thought about it, it's how much you actually immerse yourself in the practice of challenging yourself. Not only do you have to immerse yourself and frequently enough, you have to do it for a long enough, for a long
It's not in the right angle ว่ะ What about thisอ๋อมันมีระบบแบบเหมือนซูมเหรอ ซูมว่าแบบตรงไหนคือตรงไหนแอคชั่นอยู่ จริงด้วยไอ้เหี้ยมันดีเทคคนเดี๋ยว อันนี้เป็นฟังก์ชันของ Discord เหรอหรืออะไรเนี่ย
Also depends on current baseline. I've had students who were haphazard with their attention, didn't really expose themselves to much intensity every time it was difficult. They kind of pull back into their comfort zone again. They weren't challenging themselves very frequently. They were only practicing this.
I don't like this function อะ
They will go years, like 2 to 3 years of practicing, not really make much progress because they never really
ไม่ทำแล้วกันอ่านหนังสือก่อนทุกคนอ่านหนังสือต่อโทรศัพท์แม่งดีเกินแม่งซูมให้ด้วยกูอยู่ไหนLet's continueเดี๋ยวนะรีเซ็ตไปงานนี้ CA Summer เลิศฝากกำลังใจไปให้บูด้วยนะครับโอเคเริ่มมาค่ะเม้งEven though it's possible to do it in weeks, have the right guidance, structure, and everything, I would normally say you should expect that it's going to take months up to good thing about this process of actually upgrading and rewiring how your brain learns is that it's not a binary process. It's not like you have to train yourself meditatively for months, only after 2 months you finally get your first good result. Every single week, every single month, engage in this process, things are getting easier. The results are getting better and better. Memory is getting better. Understanding is deeper and clearer. So you're getting incremental improvements consistently. The thing that takes months or years is for that to start being more consistent, for it to be easier, faster. But compared to what you may normally be doing or I used to be doing, this is the safe strategy. With previously Stack on calculate
which set as a foundation for all of these that need to have these also pretty long term. Otherwise, the impact of these first 5 is going to be significant. So the first one of these fundamental requirements is this is a really interesting because research says that when a experience is more emotional, and this can be positive or negative, it leaves a bigger imprint on your brain. And while you can't really make every study session a thrilling, exciting, memorable experience, I would recommend trying to make it a traumatic experience. There is an element of emotion you can and should tap into, which is the idea of trying to create a level of dopamine is the happy feel good. Let's say you eat some food that you really love. You eat it, it's so good. neuroplastic change. That means that you can actually create that change with a lower level of intensity, less pride, less freedom, less duration. So you can do that as an instant, but still get that chance to reduce threshold directly. Nobody also directly increases the expression of certain chemicals in the brain that create neuroplasticity. So these neuroplasticity chemicals are actually expressed more because of interest. The other reason it's often not at all.
สวัสดีคุณปริญญาครับ
Dopamine makes you feel good. When you feel good, you're more likely to do this thing again. It creates a
สวัส
positive
ดีมูน่าครับผมสวัสดีครับ
and this increases your level of motivation. So when I say I'm just going to take well, those months and years are going to fly by and having fun doing it. That's important because everyone, every human brain is capable of neuroplastic change. But not everyone, very few people actually are able to successfully rewire the brain. And in fact, from my experience, the key differentiator is not the brain of each person, but how long they're able to stick. So that's where the next one here is sleep. All the other things that sleep is so important. My belief, don't sacrifice sleep. Any other concept, sacrifice sleep. Just unfollow. Not but sleep, when it comes to learning and memory in the brain, is incredibly important. One of the best pieces of advice, actually this is always advice that's back when I was 18 years old, cram as much as you like. Do as many all-nighters as you want. But the night before your exam, get really, really, really good sleep. That was because in sleep, your brain doesn't sleep dependent activity. Basically, all the stuff that you've been cramming in, actually moves that information from really part of the brain. If you don't get enough sleep, it means that maybe all of the studying you cram all this information in the brain, but then when it comes time to actually use it for an interview, for an exam, or just for work, you're not actually able to do it. Which is a shame. I don't agree with it. I don't know. But I agree with the idea that sleep is extremely important. Now, when it comes to neuroplastic change, it's actually even more important because during sleep, your brain goes into this kind of maintenance mode. And it's during this time that it replays certain neural pathways that are activated during the day and strengthen them, also prune the ones that are not necessary. And this is all very crucial for keeping the brain in good health. So if you're constantly sleep deprived, your brain isn't able to perform this maintenance function. So not only do you feel terrible, you're deprived, your concentration goes down, your focus goes down, your actual thinking capacity, executive capacity goes down, and your brain's ability to adapt and change and grow also reduces. So I'm sure you've heard this 100 times before. Get your sleep sorted. But if your sleep is still not sorted, and you've heard it 100 times, then let me tell you again, get your sleep sorted. I'm talking to you. It's not worth it to be sleep deprived. It's not worth it. The next one here is exercise. Specifically, especially aerobic exercise is good for brain plasticity. So you know how I said that there's this neuroplasticity chemical
Golden
in the
factor.
brain? One of those chemicals is called BDNF. It stands for brain-derived neuroplasticity. It's one of the key chemicals that's involved in strengthening pathways making the brain unnecessary. And aerobic exercise actually seems to directly increase the
ไม่รู้เลย
expression of BDNF. Exercise to be actually need. What type of exercise? When do you need it? There's actually a surprisingly large amount of research into this brain. The good news is that any level of aerobic exercise, even done for a short amount of time, has benefits. But there is a sweet spot. And that sweet spot is roughly 3 to 5 times per week, roughly 30 to 45 minutes per session, and around
สวัสดีพี่เต้ฮัลโหลสวัสดีจ้าสอบเสร็จแล้วจะบอกกลับบ้านได้ โอ้หิช้าจังเลยได้กลับบ้านแล้วสินะ เอาเลยจองเลยใส่ในสิ่งแวดล้อมLaboratory diagnosisก็คือเปลี่ยนหัวข้อเลยเหรอต่อไปก็คือเป็นเรื่อง Laboratory diagnosis 20 hours a day, basically trying to into medical school, working as a doctor while running a business.
certification after a month of study. For the students and professionals that are actually ready to learn and better results in performance, but also the confidence to risk their career, make more money, independent examinations, while learning an act without all the time to spend on training them. But learning to learn is not straightforward. For me, it took years of experimenting with complicated research to figure it out. So in this video, I want to give you a simple list and style. I want to teach you how I think about learning as a learning coach. I'll teach you some tactics, most importantly, teach you the principles and approaches. Because tactics change depending on what learning is. Principles remain the same. So I'll teach you the principle process you need to follow to master complex skills and knowledge confidently. There are 4 parts. The first part, I'm going to bust some common learning myths. I'm starting with
เหลือกี่วันก่อนสอบ
they have written on
2 อาทิตย์ไหมอาทิตย์กว่าๆอาทิตย์เกือบ2 อาทิตย์
learning tactics themselves. These are fundamental long skills. If you believe these, you will learn. And they are so
พี่ต้าทำอะไร
95% of people believe that it's important. So that's the first part. But the myths
วาดรูปแน่เลยไม่เอาเล่นเกม
second part, where I talk about how you can create a learning system. Learning is
อืม
it's complicated. It's also invisible. It's really hard to improve if you don't know how to do it. So the most important first step to become more efficient at learning is to see learning as a system as opposed to a cluster of methods and techniques that you support. So once we see the importance of process as a part of the learning system, we then look at which parts within this plan will work. Just figuring out how to think about learning as a system will probably be 2 years. As I explain the learning system, I'll also be teaching you about science and memory and how it works. So this part can be quite large. It can be broken up into multiple different segments depending on each component of the learning system. With that covered, the third part, I'll go through the different orders of learning. One thing I've realized that makes learning to learn really difficult is that there's so many different ways we use our knowledge. When you're learning for an exam, it's different than learning for your job. Even in your job, different types of decisions and problems require different types of learning at different levels. So I'll teach you how to think about all those different levels in a very easy and productive way. You know how to think about the orders of learning because you're already clear and goal. You know exactly what you're looking for. You know what you do to be able to achieve that. You can assess if you're learning effective or not based on how well you're achieving that level. Because you can assess that yourself, you can improve and iterate on learning much quickly than having to ask someone else for feedback, getting an exam feedback, to get feedback. And then the fourth and final part are those crucial self-management skills. Self-management refers to the ways that you manage your time, your priorities, your focus, and your attention. Self-management is what allows you to have the time, the energy, and concentration to do effective learning when you need to sit down and actually do it. If your learning skills are great, self-management skills are useless. Those people, you're going to be useless. There are a lot of misconceptions and advice that we see floating around there that I think makes self-management harder than it needs to be. So I'll teach you some simple principles and strategies to use. So we're so close to our 4 biggest self-management. And as you can see, the smaller and shorter. And by the end of this video, you will be the world's best learner. Learning to learn takes time. And if you're not willing to spend that time to learn the skill, then you're not going to learn the skill. Those of you that are willing to learn, this is your ultimate getting started. So first, let's start with busting some myths. First 2 myths are the time and IQ myths. Let's say that you're struggling with learning. Well, you've got a lot of work, you've got a high workload, there's lots you need to learn, there's lots you need to keep up on, and you've got other things to do. Get your job done, spend time with your family, do your everyday household chores. On top of that, you need to get enough sleep, exercise regularly. There's a lot of stuff on your plate. And on top of that, you have all the stuff you need to learn. So if you feel like you're on this hamster wheel, where you're just constantly trying to keep up,
ลูกเกม of Thrones โอ้
complete values, accurate. The way we interpret processing power of the world's smartest scientists. They don't even have the memory of the memory channel. Just being able to increase your attention by 20, 30%, being able to understand things 20 to 30% more deeply, see how things fit and connect together 20 to 30% more easily. That translates to 20 to 30% more time that's available. That can be an entire evening that's not free. That's an entire weekend that we spend. That's 20 to 30% more difficult problems, more complicated issues that you can deal with. That could be a promotion. That could be a salary raise. Everyone can get 20 to 30% more effective than they are now. Actually, if you think about it, it's only logical because most people are terrible with their learning. Their learning strategies and methods and systems they're using are not very sophisticated. And also, it's not your fault. But like me, no one told you how to learn properly. No one told you what the science of learning is. No one told you how your brain actually works. Even for me, when I was going to school, doing the research and understanding this, it's complicated. It's really complicated. And it took me over a decade of reading the research, applying it, experimenting, teaching it to thousands of people, allowing it to see how it works. The 2 minutes that I want to talk about, it's not about like not having. That's not the real problem. The real problem is that it took us too long to cover what you need to cover. The problem is that the time you do have, you're spending it on relearning the things that you constantly forget. The issue is not a lack of time. The issue is that you waste time. And that comes down to your choices. You're way down. The issue is also not because of your IQ or your intelligence. Your ability to learn common way that people talk about this is visual, auditory, reading, writing, aesthetic. But actually, any way of categorizing it by saying, I learned this, I better learn this way, rather than this way. This is a myth because decades of high quality, very reliable research has shown that human brain is capable of learning in multiple different ways. People just don't have a set style of learning that is better for you. But it means that there is not a style that is more suited for you, it's different to someone else. So for you, you should learn to use that style more. That is not true. And probably one of the reasons this myth refuses to die and is actually still taught. Like I've worked with universities, teacher training organizations, people that are going to be teaching people how to learn. And they still have learning styles. And you have to understand that this is not one of those things where there's like one or two papers out that say this is not true. This is to the point where people are not really studying whether learning styles exist anymore because the research is so conclusive that we'll move on to other things. People are not researching. Why do people keep believing in this? Is that it seems to be counterintuitive. It goes against the lived experience that there are certain ways of learning that seem to be more effective and work better for us. So surely the research is missing something. And that is also a totally valid feeling. The thing is, the two things are not contradictory to each other. Here's the reality. First of all, visual expressibility of tens of thousands of Chinese spots. It's true everyone considers a pretty significant
โอ
medical
เคพัก5 นาที
When I show you a photo of
เออ สงสัยว่าทำไมเน็กไทถึงดูสั้นจัง มันไม่ดูสั้นก็มันสั้น เพราะว่าปกติมันใส่กับเสื้อคลุมไง เสื้อคลุมนี่ มันไม่ดูรกเกิน ถ้าเน็กไทยาวไปมันจะดูรกนะ พักแล้วใช่พัก5 นาทีว้ายืดเส้นกินน้ำโอ้ค่ะ sorry อันนี้ทำโพโมโดโรแบบเวลาเท่าไหร่ มองเห็นเลขไม่ชัด ไม่รู้มันขยายยังไงอ่ะ เหมือนมันได้แค่นี้เลยอ่ะทำไงอ่ะ อยากให้มันใหญ่ๆอ่ะทำไงให้มันใหญ่ๆ อันนี้มินิไมซ์หนักกว่าเดิมอีก เป็น25 กับ 5 นาทีค่ะคุณมิ้น นี่แม็กซิไมซ์แล้วหรอฉันอยากได้ใหญ่กว่านี้อ่ะ ไม่ได้หรอเห็นไหมคุณมิ้น 25 กับ 5 นาที ยืด โอ้ยปวดแขนมาก เกมนั้นผมก็น้อยที่มันตัวเล็กมองไม่สะใจเลย บางทีเราอาจจะต้องลองใช้จอใหญ่ ตอนนั้นอะเกมเล่นวาโลในโน้ตบุ๊กใช่ไหมแล้วแบบก็รู้สึกว่ามันเล่นขนาดปกติมาตลอดไปจนกระทั่งเราซื้อจอใหม่มาแล้วก็เชื่อมจอใช่ปะเท่านั้นแหละ ไม่เคยรู้สึกว่าคอร์สแฮร์มันใหญ่อันเท่าบ้านขนาดนี้มาก่อน แล้วก็ยิงกลายว่ายิงแม่นขึ้นเลยเพราะคอร์สแฮร์ใหญ่มากเพราะในเกมคนใช้คอร์สแฮร์เล็กมากอยู่แล้วแต่พอวันนี้มันแบบใหญ่ปักคักอันนี้เดี๋ยวค่อยมาอ่านนะก็ต้องอ่านอันอื่นก่อน ยืดไปกิ้งมันเตียงแป๊บนึงนะปวดหลังไม่เลยทุกคนอย่าลืมท่ายืดแก่ปวดหลังนะที่เขาให้นอนราบใช่ไหมแล้วก็ยกแบบนอนท่าตรงอ่ะแล้วก็ยกเข่าขวาขึ้นมาแล้วก็กอดเข่าไว้นะคะท่ายืดที่ดีมากกำลังทำอยู่แล้วทำอีกข้างหนึ่งด้วยนะจริงๆวันนี้เกดอยากไปออกกำลังกายแต่ว่ามันใกล้สอบแล้วก็เลยไม่ไปยิมแล้วกันไปมาแล้วเมื่อวานตอนนี้ทำเน็กเลสอยู่6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 1 เซตพอดีซิกแพคจะได้ขึ้นซิกแพคได้ชัดโอ้เพื่อนยังไม่อ่านเลยไม่รู้ตั้งใจหรือเลยคือเมื่อวานอะเพื่อนอะทักมาหาเกดตอนเช้าแล้วนี่ตื่นบ่ายก็เลยไม่เห็นข้อความเพื่อนเพิ่งมาตอบมันวันนี้สงสัยโดนเอาคืนแต่ปกติถ้าแบบว่าจะนัดจะชวนไปไหนอ่ะจะแบบว่าให้โทรเลยนะเพราะว่านี่ไม่ค่อยเช็คโทรศัพท์บ่อยอยู่แล้วยังไม่ตื่นเปล่าไม่ตื่นแล้วเพราะว่าให้โทรไปหามันรอบนึงไงต้องตื่นแล้วสิ แค่อ่านต่อกันเถอะ คือฉันก็ไม่ได้โง่ขนาดนั้นที่แบบว่าจะไม่รู้ว่าเพื่อนยังไม่ตื่นหรืออะไร คือก็ไม่ได้งี่เง่าขนาดนั้นที่แบบว่าเฮ้ยไม่อ่านข้อความเข้ากับไม่ตื่น มันยังลงเล่นIGเลยเนี่ยยังส่งคลิปมาให้อยู่อ่านสุดต่อดีกว่า
How explaining it to someone, solving a problem, answering a question, just randomly reciting facts, as long as you're doing it from the memory, that is retrieval. Now, retrieval is opposed to a couple of things. First of all, you need to retrieve the knowledge that you use. Unless you're just learning something because you just have joy in knowing things. Usually, the reason you're learning is to use that knowledge in some way. That involves retrieval. So you need to be good at retrieving the knowledge in the right way. If you learn something, you encoded it in a way that's very isolated, very random, far removed, just rote memorization. The way you use that is with complex problem solving, with nuance, discussion, answering, questions. So that the way you encoded that knowledge is not useful. Even though it technically exists in your brain, you don't know how to use it. It doesn't connect in the way that it needs to. You're going to start doing that. That is part of retrieval. It's practicing retrieving the knowledge in the way before you actually really need to retrieve. The other benefit is that by doing this retrieval also helps with re-encoding. So there's actually a cycle that happens where every time you retrieve information, it also helps to strengthen, consolidate that knowledge. And this is really important because if you are not good at the issue is that your memory or including leads to poor retention. It also leads to superficial understanding. What that translates to is not good complex applications of solving complex problems, having things. So if you're trying to become an expert in this thing, you're technically learning how to do that, and you know that you answer questions on important stakeholders and solve all these things that you the level of capability is pretty high. So if you're including elements low, you're going to struggle with that. On the other hand, your retrieval is more retrieval. This leads to a drop in your knowledge pools, your ability to pull that. It also increases the risk of there being gaps in the knowledge that you retrieve the knowledge, it's too small. You don't realize the gap or that you've understood something incorrectly. So one of the purposes of doing retrieval is to find those gaps in knowledge before it really happens. Sometimes you don't think so you can for retrieval right now, learn something, produce something, apply it to a world, just present it. And if there are mistakes, if there are gaps in that, you just need to figure it out along the way or present it and get feedback saying, hey, this is wrong, because this, it may not be a significant consequence. But it's worth understanding that retrieval is the tool that helps you mitigate that risk. Sometimes you won't at that risk. Let's say that you have to present something at a conference. You need to really know your stuff. You don't want to on stage answer the question for the first time, realizing I never thought about it correctly before, and now it's you want to be sitting at a really important exam, realizing for the first time, oh yeah, I forgot this, or I never thought about it this way, or I never tested myself in this way. The other issue with poor retrieval is that it increases knowledge decay. Knowledge decay is basically the fancy technical term for forgetting something, inflating. And this is something that you should have sustained. If you learn something the first time, your knowledge decay is going to be at a certain rate. So in this case, this might be quite steep. So let's say that this is after 1 day. This is your day 0. So you learn something on this experience. This is fine, by the way. This is the level of knowledge you have left in the memory. So if you learn something on day 0, after 1 day on this graph, maybe that's wrong 10%. It means you go up 90% after 1 day. Now, let's say 6 hours after you decide to test yourself on this thing. So that's going to happen for 3 hours. Yeah. So you do a retrieval practice. You try to recall this memory. You reconsolidate this knowledge. So what that allows you to do is it allows you to see, hey, I've forgotten 50% of it already. I'm going to relearn that 50%. And then as you consolidate it, because of the fact that retrieval itself helps with the encoding, what's going to happen is that that knowledge is now going to decay a little bit more slowly. And so after the Some people, if you already have a high baseline, they can improve their ability to operate a brain in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. For most
เดี๋ยวมาแป๊บหนึ่งนะจ๊ะสักครู่ มาละคุยโทรศัพท์อยู่เมื่อกี้เคต่อมา เริ่มเจ็บคอ
ultimate goal is to make sure that they're hitting a certain level of frequency that keeps that knowledge topped up rather than letting it decay. Each time you top it up to improve your attention, make that knowledge go a little bit slower for that listening. Now, the spells will depend on the method. If you use the wrong method, you can test yourself in the wrong way. You think your attention is really good, but actually it's not, or it doesn't really matter, because that's not how you use that knowledge. So it's really complicated. If you need to learn from complex decision making, there's lots of different things going on. Really complicated projects and high-stakes decisions. The way that you learn about new stuff to make that decision is through flashcards and open cards. So you can do a flashcard, you can do a road trip, your attention is 80, 90, 95%, but then the day it's meaningless. It's not testing yourself in a way that is relevant to how you actually need to retrieve it. So when you test yourself in that way, then you realize that actually you're able to use that knowledge functionally. This is why it's important to be clear about how you use this knowledge, because that comes out more than stuff. That becomes a goal. The retrieval method springs back from it. But the major aspects about it, right? And that first one, it should be generative. So what this means is that it needs to involve you actually doing something with that knowledge rather than just thinking about it. If you just sit there and mentally review everything that you've gone through, there is some benefit to just doing that, but that benefit is not really as strong. Also, just not worth the time and opportunity cost of instead generate something with that knowledge, like creating a person, creating a problem, solving it, explaining it, writing it out. Actually force yourself to do something with that knowledge. And on top of that, you should try to push yourself to replicate that knowledge. And in most situations, generally you don't actually have the method of retrieval you use is simply just recall. There may be a case you're studying for a specific exam, you know that these exams don't need you to just recall information, especially in a professional context, and especially even just in more slightly more complex exams. The way that you use that information is often going to be with other pieces of information. It's not enough just to know this fact. It's like, now that you know this fact, what does that mean in terms of this or this? Or how do you apply this fact into this? Or when you combine these two facts, what happens? And so when you practice your retrieval, you want to get used to using that knowledge for something as opposed to just recalling and saying it for one place. Finally, you want to make sure that you're doing this as much as possible from memory. This is using something that's called free recall. Free recall means that you're recalling that information from the memory. You don't have to use structures kind of make it easier for you to recall this information. For example, if I have a fill in the blank, that's not free recall because you have the context of that entire sentence minus the blank. That would be huge. Whereas the
โอเคเวลาพักใช่ไหม
There's very little structure, as well as much guidance. You need to recall lots of different ideas from the memory and then to make sure that you're doing things that generate a sound. And that is the greatest goal of
พี่สวัสดีจ้าเพิ่งเห็น
It's not a bad thing. Just remember one of the main goals of retrieval is to find gaps. So when you do the realize, hey, I
ทักทายไปแล้วยังทักทายไปแล้วค่ะ
feel pretty good. I got knowledge that
สวัสดีค่ะสวัสดีครับฮัลโหลอันยังวันนี้คุณแม่นิจิครับผมต้อนรับค่ะ welcome
this is the gap.
welcome จ้า
And it's a real opportunity to work on it before you did it for one of those real world actions. There's a real process. If you're working professionally, there's a really big problem with trying to do retrieval practice, which is that this adds more work to the brain. And that work is not necessarily directly related to actual work. But creating a retrieval strategy for yourself on top of the knowledge feels like it's not really hard to get the job done, finish a project, or deliver for a client or something like that. And so it can be difficult to fit retrieval strategies into
5 นาที
this is what my question is.
นาทีทำอะไรดีนะเหลือ3ละปิดหูฟังอ่ะไม่ได้นั่งอ่านเรียนอะไรเพิ่มตั้งแต่ปิดเทอมส่งโปรเจกต์แล้วปล่อยเลยก็ดูปกติสำหรับคนทั่วไปไหม แบบว่าเรียนเสร็จก็ช่างมันไม่ได้ใช้แล้วมันเพิ่งตอบฉันเมื่อกี้พอทำโปรเจกต์ปวดหัวมากเหมือนทำ2โปรเจกต์พร้อมกันพอดันไปแนะนำหัวข้อให้เพื่อนแล้วเพื่อนบอกในเมื่อคิดหัวข้องั้นก็ต้องช่วยด้วยฮะอะไรมีด้วยเหรอมันหายไปไหนอ้าวที่ติดกล้องหายอ๋อติดมากับเคสแต่เนื้อหาที่เรียนไม่ลืมง่ายๆหรอกเพราะได้ใช้อยู่ทั้งงานอดิเรกงานที่รับมาก็ดีแล้วนะคะดีแล้วใช่ก็ดีแล้วนี่ได้ใช้เรื่อยๆก็ไม่ลืมถูกอย่า
This is talking about individual facts.
พอดีหัวข้อให้เสนอไปมันเฉพาะไปหน่อย
Things in isolation. You do a lot of this
แต่เพื่อนก็
early schooling.
ไม่รับผิดชอบเองหรือเปล่า
To like explain a concept.
ก็ในเมื่อเพื่อนเลือกที่จะใช้หัวข้อที่เราเสนอ
Facts.
เอง
Lower order. At a certain point, it flips in that most of the things that are valuable for learning are higher order. And higher order when information is integrated. This is when concepts aren't just meaningful to know by themselves. Concepts are important to know because of the influence and the impact that it has on something else. This fact is not something that is just a fun fact for a party trick. This fact is important because that influences the way that you make decisions about something else. So anytime you need to do any kind of
หู
prioritization
ฟาดปะวะ
or
ไม่เป็นไรมั้ง
evaluation or comparison or complex
ให้ซื้อตอนเถอะ
problem solving, these are all higher order knowledge requirements. Prioritizing something accurately means that you understand the implication of prioritizing one thing versus all the other things that you could be prioritizing. When you evaluate how important one thing is, you're evaluating its importance relative to the importance of everything else. So if someone's trying to solve a complicated problem, but they're not used to thinking at a higher order, they don't know how to start. They don't know how to approach things. They understand that there are lots of different concepts working together. They understand that they're related to each other, but they don't know how to navigate those relationships. They know it's connected, but all it does is create overwhelm, as opposed to someone who's good at thinking of this higher order, and they're used to it, and they've tested themselves, and they've encoded the information this way. They can say, hey, yes, all of these things influence each other. Here is the way that they influence this. If I change this thing goes down. If I remove this, I need to replace it with this. They understand how the components connect, and so they can work with that knowledge in a productive way. There's a few interesting phenomena about working at a higher order compared to working at a lower order. First of all, working at a higher order, because it's integrated, forces information to fit into a network, forces information to fit into a schema. And this is how your memory works. Your memory is stronger when information belongs inside a network or a schema. And so when you try to learn things at a higher order and you try to apply your knowledge at a higher order, your memory gets stronger. One of the results of this
เพื่อนไม่มาเรื่องหัวข้อ
to achieve this
อ๋อ
flatter
สู้ๆนะ
knowledge decay curve.
สู้แล้วกัน
And as I mentioned there, if you're not used to thinking in
ผู้
this
ชม
way,
จาก
where you're constantly
ช่อง
comparing
นี้
information
เพิ่ง
and
เข้า
thinking
วอร์ม
about
อ๋อ อันนี้คือการเลทเหรอ UX UI ใหม่หรือ
which is more
ยิน
important
ดีต้อนรับค่ะสวัสดีนะคะ
other possible
สวัสดีค่ะ
This is
ไม่มีอะไรเลยค่ะ นั่งอ่านหนังสือเมมอยู่ค่ะ
new habits of thinking well. Now sometimes you do need to learn at a lower order as well. Like I said, sometimes there'll be certain examinations that
ขอบคุณสำหรับการเรียนนะคะ
integrate everything into a big network and a schema, but it might take you so long. You only need to learn like 50 different facts.
พี่ขี้เกียจอ่านชื่อช่องไม่ทันนะคะชื่อช่องอะไรนะ คุณเทนสักอย่างใช่ไหมขอบคุณนะคะ ขอบคุณนะคะ ขอบคุณนะคะ
This is not in a network, not in a schema. This information is going to be lost very quickly. So the knowledge decay is happening very fast. Again, sometimes this is acceptable, and sometimes this is actually overall more efficient. Especially as a professional, there's not many instances where lower order learning is that valuable because most of the time you just write it down and you can look it up.
What are they?
The ability to sort of just have memorized facts and details in isolation and only using them in isolation is pretty niche. So understanding the orders of learning has a couple of different implications. One of the implications is it gives you that goalpost on how you should be thinking about the information when you first learn it, when you do the encoding. So when this information first comes into your brain, you want to put on your higher order hat and say, cool, so here's this isolated piece of information that's entered my brain. How can I connect this with something else? How can I find a pattern? And there are various strategies that you can use for this. I talk about a lot in my other videos. Some of the ones that I recommend starting with is trying some kind of mind mapping. Correct mind mapping is very effective because it forces your brain to think in relationships because you literally have to draw the relationships. Now, you can also do mind mapping without doing higher order thinking, where you just draw things draw some arrows, connect some things here and there. You don't really think too deeply about it. You don't think whether this is the best way or it's the right way. You don't think about other ways that you can do it. You just connect a bunch of things together and you call it a day. That's not going to be very effective. But if you're really challenging yourself to evaluate, prioritize, restructure ideas, and really get a clear, organized, big picture understanding, mind mapping is going to help you with that. Another very simple thing that you can do is creating analogies. The act of trying to create an analogy is actually a way to activate higher order thinking. To create an analogy, you often have to take a group of related concepts and facts and then think about how they're related together to find some other type of way to represent that. And when you create an analogy and you think, does this analogy make sense? That forces you to examine those relationships, whether you've understood them correctly, whether you've understood each component correctly. So creating analogies is an incredibly effective, useful tool that you should use frequently whenever you're learning new information. You can also apply this exact same thinking when you decide on the retrieval method that you want to use. So I've mentioned that you want it to be generative, you want to manipulate the information, and you want to do it off free recall. Well, any form of higher order retrieval is actually going to be manipulating and generative by default. And one of the most famous examples of this, which is incredibly effective, is to teach something to a 10-year-old, famously called the Feynman method. When you try to teach something to a 10-year-old, you're doing a very similar thing as creating an analogy. You're thinking about how all of these things relate together. You're thinking about which thing is more important, which is less important, how you can really explain that in simpler terms. And then when you think about those simpler terms, you go back and ask yourself, does this still actually make sense? Is this still accurate? And because you're forcing your brain to think in networks and think in relationships, this is higher order. And because you are teaching someone, you're generating it. And because you're doing it hopefully from memory, you're doing free recall. So this is an example of a great retrieval strategy. So what it looks like when it comes together is that you've taken some new information, you draw some mind maps to try to see how the relationships play out. You spend a bit of time cleaning it up until it feels organized and makes sense to you. You try to create some analogies with what you've learned. And as you do this, you should feel that your knowledge is not only becoming deeper, more nuanced, you're starting to see how the complicated, overwhelming parts are starting to make a bit more sense. Your memory is getting stronger. And then later, you can test yourself by teaching it to a 10-year-old, an imaginary 10-year-old. You have to find your local ambient 10-year-old to teach you. And then when you do this, then test your knowledge. You find more gaps, top up your memory. And so this is just one example. But what I said at the beginning about how what matters is the approach, the principle to follow, more so than the tactic itself. You don't have to use mind maps. You don't have to use analogy. You don't have to teach it to a 10-year-old. You can do anything you want. Any method or technique is going to work as long as you recognize the principle of trying to think in networks, think in relationships. Think about why is this thing important relative to something else. Create connections and move away from the lower order habit of just trying to understand and remember individual facts and individual concepts. The hard part about learning from birth is not doing higher order learning. Most people can think in relationships. Most people can think in terms of why is one thing important compared to another thing. The hard part about learning is that most of us have really strong lower order habits. And it feels wrong and destabilizing and highly uncertain to not really try to remember or understand each individual thing that we're consuming. It doesn't seem to make sense to us. And so the biggest challenge is actually just being okay with that feeling. Is to learn something new and say, I don't fully understand it. I definitely don't feel like I'm going to remember it. But I understand it enough to start thinking about how it could fit into the big picture. How I can group and arrange and connect this information with everything else. And as you go through that higher order process, grouping and relating and creating connections, that is what allows you to develop better memory, retain it, and that's what allows you to understand it more deeply. And this is the part that when we talk about the limits earlier on, the learning should not be easy. Like this is the quintessential example of this. When people try to just learn things in isolation and just remember a specific fact or a concept, that's actually really easy to do. You just understand. Like that's the easiest way of learning about learning. You tell someone, okay, you to simplify it. I want you to group it. I want you to rearrange this information into a way that makes sense for you. That's difficult. That can be overwhelming. That can be confusing. Most people will feel that and think, no way. No step away. If that happens to you, you will never
stack on
talk about the learning system.
calculate
Coding, about retrieval, but there is still an aspect that we haven't talked about yet, which is the self-management aspect. And this is something that I call the enablers.
เป็น swarming colony
Enablers are sort of the third part of a learning system because it's not tied to your ability to learn exactly, but it's what gets your butt in the seat. It's what allows you to, when you have 3 hours of your calendar blocked out for learning something, you actually do that. You sit down, and then for the 3 hours, you actually get high quality learning. You're focused, concentrating, not procrastinating, and you know how to juggle competing priorities and manage your time. So as I mentioned, I want to show you some simple principles to help you solve the biggest self-management issues. Now at this point, you may be feeling like we've covered a lot and it's very confusing. Like it makes sense, but you need more time. You need more examples. You need me to walk through step by step. You need to see the specific tactic or the specific strategy. And if you feel that way, well, I mean, part of that's good. It means you're really paying attention. If you are looking for more examples, you want some more walkthroughs, you want something that's a bit more step by step. You're not trying to figure out how all of this kind of fits together. You just want to be told this is what you need to do, here's why you need to do it, here's how to do it correctly. Then there's a couple options for you. First of all, I have a lot of other videos. Like each of the things that I've talked about in this video, I have multiple videos going into them in more depth. So please browse around, watch some more videos that will help you get a better sense of things. The other option, if you want to take a little bit of a faster approach and you want something that's even more guided, you not even have to think about which video to watch, what's the best video to learn, whatever technique, what do I need to do next. The best option for you is maybe to join my actual program. So I do have a paid program that I go through step by step, teaching you like this is how learning works. This is what you need to learn first. It goes through the learning system, all the different components, with examples and answers. Now, like I
แอป
said
เด้ง
before,
โมเดลค้างเลย
it takes some
โทษที
So this is not a program that you will be able to kind of smash out in a single weekend. If you are really low on time, like you're studying for an exam and that exam is like 1 month away.
รู้สึกช่วงสิ้นเทอมมาเศร้าเป็นงานวิชาการได้ที่3ขาดเป็น 0.3 คะแนนโดยอาจารย์พูดย้ำยันวันรับไปจบ
I would recommend this for people who want to improve their learning skills, want to get a
แต่ย้ำหนักสุดไม่ใช่อาจารย์แต่เพื่อนที่เราไปด้วยนี่แหละ ฮ่าฮ่าฮ่า
that are in play.
สรุปเศร้าหรือตลกนะ
Actually practice this. I completely understand the mentality of trying to get the best possible result in the shortest period of time. I have the same mentality. For me, like it took me super long time to figure out how to learn effectively. I try to
จ
make
ริงๆเราไม่ต้องไปสนใจเขาพูดคนอื่นที่แบบว่า
my program
ไม่ได้เกี่ยวข้องกับชีวิตเรามากขนาดนั้นก็ได้
takes time. So if you're in a position where you're not ready to commit sort of a few hours a week to actually improving the skill, I'd say try to get to that position first before joining the program if you want to. If I look at the data on who tends to find our program most effective, it tends to be people who have lots of stuff to learn. Like there's constantly new learning coming up. They're trying to fit that into their busy schedules. So we're talking about a lot of software engineers, a lot of healthcare professionals, postgraduate students, researchers, as well as just your academic student, your university student trying to study for exams. So anyway, if you're interested, I'll leave a link to the program in the description. You can go on the website, read a little bit more about it, see if it's right for you. But for now, let's go into the enablers, the self-management skills. So there are 3 different ways that I like to divide enablers. First of all is time management, next is task management, then it's focus or attention. So time management for things like schedule, time block. These are common strategies that you use. Task management is really talking about prioritization. When when you've got a lot of things that you can be doing, how do you decide what to do? And then focus or attention management. This is stuff in terms of preventing yourself from procrastinating, not getting distracted, having good concentration, or being able to enter into states of deep flow. This is what focusing attention management is about. And the important thing is to understand that these three things are actually not separate. If you are great at prioritizing, if you're terrible with your time management, you procrastinate all the time, it doesn't matter that you know what you should do, you can't actually do it. Likewise, if you're great at time management, but then your prioritization is terrible, it means that you schedule things, that means you follow your schedule, but you're spending your time doing the wrong things. So overall, these are not techniques for the sake of them. The point of using these techniques is to overall
อีโคไลเป็นพิงค์
control that we have.
พิงค์เลด
We
โค
want
โล
our life
นี
to go in a certain direction. We want to do certain things, learn certain things, upskill certain areas. Spend the time that we want to spend in the way that we want to spend it.
อีโคไลกับเคปเซ
Time
ล่า
management, task management, focus management need to work together. So as I go through to explain the principles of doing these tasks correctly,
นอนเล็กตัวเฟอร์เมนเทชัน
your problem and constantly evaluate and come back to where your next bottleneck is as you develop this.
Colorless.
Let's start with the first one, which is time management. Time management is the easiest one to get right. It
พ
is
วกโปรเตียสเซราเคีย
how
ซามูเนล่า
people make time management or how, I guess, overrated time management is. To do time management effectively
เซราเคีย
is a schedule that you maintain and a level of time blocking. Go get yourself Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, whatever. Just get yourself a calendar. On your calendar, block out time for when you want to do things. If you want to study between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. on a Friday evening, on your calendar, go to 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. Block there and just call it study. If you want to do your groceries on Saturday morning, put it into your calendar. If you want to catch up with someone, have a coffee with a friend, put it into your calendar. Just create blocks of time in a schedule that you maintain. As long as you do that, most of your time management problems will be solved. The skill requirement to do this right is not very high. But a lot of people feel they have a time management problem. They feel that way because they never have enough time. There's so much stuff that they need to do. There's not enough time to do it. The schedules that they make don't get followed. At the end of the day, there's all the stuff that they were meant to do that now has to get put back onto their backlog or move on to the next day, constantly feeling like it's never enough, no matter how much they do. Always busy, never productive. This is not a time management issue. There is one little strategy which you can do on a time management front, which is just to be conservative with your blocks. Like if you think that something's going to take you 1 hour, just got to be really honest with yourself. Is it really going to take me an hour? And actually, this is super simple to fix as well, because you don't even have to be honest with yourself. All you have to do is actually track your time. Set yourself a schedule and then actually track how long it took. How does your day actually go? When you track your time, you will see the real life that you live and the real way that you spend your time versus the way that you intended to. When you're first sort of new with scheduling, it's easy to get over ambitious. Pack your schedule every waking minute with stuff. As you get more experience, you start tracking your time, you realize things take way longer than you expected them to. And so the solution to this is just to under schedule. Be really conservative with your schedule. Plan to do less in your day than you would like. Under scheduling is vastly better to over schedule. Overscheduling is when you like you mentioned that just schedule. That's when you plan to do all the stuff that you never get done. If that happens too often, when your plans and your schedules never go according to plan. And every day there's always stuff that you plan to do that you'll never finish it. You are overscheduled. You are living in a fantasy world where your own interpretation of what you think you can do in a day is not based on reality. If the schedules you set are not reflective of reality, there is no point setting the schedule. You can't improve on that. So you have to start from baseline where you understand how long things actually take you, and you schedule things your time and see how long it actually takes you. And you may find that you don't want to schedule that because that means that you're able to get even less done in a day. You had 100 things that you needed to do, and you plan to do 20 of those today. But then when you track your time, you realize if you schedule them responsibly and accurately, you're only able to get 5 of those things done. Guess what? You're only getting 5 of those things done anyway. The only difference is whether you are aware of it and plan for it, or you don't plan for it, and then you just feel like crap at the end of every day because you realize that it's going to go for it. Even if every now and again you give yourself like an intense, packed day that's super busy and you have to be like really on the minute every minute of the day, you can do that once in a while. That should not be your norm. When you get to a point you can under-schedule and you see reality for what it is, now you can plan. Now you can properly plan. Because the issue of having too much to do, not being able to fit it in, not having enough time, that's not a time management issue. That is a task management issue. I'm going to put a big yellow star next to task management because this is the part that most people undervalue. This is the part that probably is going to make the biggest difference. This is the part that people are really bad. 99 out of 100 times when someone comes to me and they say they've got a time management issue, they have a task management issue. The issue is in the way that they prioritize or don't prioritize. So how do you properly prioritize? So there are a few little tactics that are going to make it easier for you to prioritize. Number one is collecting your tasks. Try not to have everything that you need to do just floating around in your head. Write it down. You can use a to-do list software if you like, or you can literally write it down in a notebook. You can write it down on your phone, in your phone notes app. Me personally, I used to use a lot of different apps for this. I just use the notes app on my iPhone now for most of this. But the point is that you just want to have a single place where when you think that there's stuff that you need to do, you can just put it down. You can chuck it into a reminder. It's just there. You don't have to think about it. Second thing is give yourself time to prioritize. This needs to become a habit. If it becomes a habit, you don't need to have like too much time set aside separately just to prioritize. You learn how to fit it into your just everyday life. If you're coming from a situation where you've never really sat down and properly prioritized your tasks, you need to carve out 20, 30 minutes in the evening, the night before, for you to go through all the tasks that you need to do and then start prioritizing. When you first start doing this, it's going to take a while because you've got a backlist of all these different tasks that haven't been prioritized before, and now you have to prioritize all of them in bulk, like in one go. That can be time consuming, but this works. You have to do this if you want to solve the problems about having too much to do and not knowing how to do it. And so here's what you're going to do when you're actually sitting down to manage your tasks. You're either going to execute or you're going to categorize. When you see a task that needs to be done, ask yourself, is it going to take me more than 2 minutes? The answer is no, just do it now. It's better to have that task off your list, off your radar, giving you the benefit of what is the benefit that task is meant to give you, than thinking about how to prioritize. So this is called 2 minutes. If it's going to take you less than 2 minutes, just do it on the spot. If it's going to take longer than 2 minutes, categorize. Now there are lots of different ways of categorizing tasks and prioritizing them. I personally like to use the Eisenhower matrix. There's a very specific way that I use this. If you're familiar with this, if you're not familiar with this, I'll discuss each category. So the steps are pretty simple. Just divide the group, and as you mentally think about these 4 different grids. These grids sit on the axis of urgency and importance. So in this top right corner, this would be your focus corner. These are the things that have a high level of importance and a high level of urgency. To the left of this quadrant, you have things that are a low level of urgency and a high level of importance. This is your schedule quadrant. Now, this is an important point. Most people don't distinguish urgent versus important. And this is because people prioritize based on feeling. This feels important for me to do. The issue is that the human brain is not very good at feeling intuitively the importance of something that's long term. So most of the stuff that you feel is important to do, but the feeling is actually the urgency. And there are a lot of things that are urgent that aren't important. And the way that you should measure the importance is based on the consequence starting to get a little dusty, starting to look a little bit, like not pleasant. And this feeling more and more important for me to do. And so one day there's a weekend that comes along, I've got all this other stuff to do, and on top of that, this household chore, give my house a deep clean, comes up. And it feels, I put this off for too long, this is important enough that it needs to be like prioritized today. So you ask yourself, yes, we're feeling that it's urgent, but if I didn't do it, what's the consequence? So if I don't do it today, well, I'm not going to have enough time to do it for an entire other week, and then my house is going to get even dirty. Okay, so what? And the correct way to answer this is that you balance that against the consequences of everything else you could be doing in that time. So let's say the reason I've been cleaning my house is I've been really busy. I've also been really stressed. I've been stressed in my personal life. I've been stressed at work. I've got a lot of stuff I need to do. I'm under the pump. I haven't felt good. Even if I've had time to clean my house, I didn't feel like it because I was just too burnt out. And so another thing that I think is important for me to do this weekend is to go for a run, do some exercise, start getting back on my exercise habit and rebuilding my physical health. And these two may be competing. If I clean my house, I'm not going to have time to go for my run, and vice versa. And that becomes how you assess the importance of it. Because the decline of mental and physical health may not seem urgent, but the consequence of not prioritizing this is probably greater than the consequence of letting the house get 1 week dirty. And often, the things that are the most life-changing for us are the things that are important but not urgent. Because often, the things that are here are the things that by the time it becomes urgent, it's too late. It becomes something that is, now I haven't been exercising, I haven't been taking care of my diet, I haven't been taking care of my sleep. Now I'm burnt out, depressed as hell, and now I need to quit my job to give myself the mental space to recover. So now it's urgent for me to have great mental and physical health. I can't do anything about it. That's the type of thing I wish I had made that a priority 3 months ago. I see a job opportunity opening up, and it requires me to learn these different skills. That job's not going to open up for another 6 months to a year. So if you put that off, and then 6 months passes, and there's an interview that comes up, now it's urgent. You can't learn that skill. You don't have enough time yet. That becomes a, I wish I prioritized that 6 months ago. And the big thing that we want to avoid with prioritization is falling into the urgency trap. Every single day, you're just doing the things that are urgent, but not doing enough of things that are not urgent, but still important. Because when we stay in the urgency trap, we're only doing things that are urgent. Often the things that are urgent for us today, we can fix by doing something that's not urgent. We can improve a system, learn a skill, get better at it, learn to learn. If what's urgent for you right now is that you have to study all this material because you're constantly forgetting it, well, actually, spending time learning to learn actually solves the urgent problem that we have. Obviously not today, but eventually. So when you spend more time in the important and not urgent quadrant, over time, that reduces the amount of stuff in your urgent quadrants. And so if you do this activity and you realize everything is always urgent, you have to think about it as, well, what could I do to prevent urgent things in the first place?
โอเคพัก5 นาที
Help you right now, but time is going to pass no matter what. And when time passes, you want to be in a position where at least one day you've got less stuff to worry about. And that's the reason why this quadrant is called schedule. Because it means that if there's something that's important but not urgent, you start
ผมไปละไปหาทำอะไรทำต่อสู้ๆจ้า
say 1 hour a week, 30 minutes every evening, 10 minutes every evening. I'm going to schedule and protect this time to work on this thing that's not urgent but could be life-changing. And you actually start with that.
rest yeah
Start with scheduling the thing that is not
ตีห้าไหม
remaining time.
ถ้าอยู่
Protect the other thing.
ก็เดี๋ยวอยู่เป็นเพื่อนได้
Your sleep routine, whatever the other non-urgent important things are. Once you're protected that time,
คือมาขอให้ทำอ่ะตัวเองอยู่หรือเปล่าฮัลโหล
they will
ไม่อยู่อะสิไปนอน
So this is the stuff that goes important and urgent. Now, if you go down from here, you have the stuff that is low importance but high urgency. This quadrant is called batch. because this is the type of stuff that you want to be able to get done very quickly in a single go. This could be responding to the email. It could be doing like various house chores. But because it's not important, you don't have to do it to a high quality. You just need to get it done. Even if you don't get it done, because it's not important, the consequence is not that severe. And when you think about the consequence, don't think about it in terms of is there a consequence or not. Think about it as can I handle the consequence?
โอ้ยเด็บกินขา
Recover from the consequence. When I talk to a lot of students, one of the big urgent things they have to do every single day is homework. But then in this type of situation, they're also learning from me how to learn effectively. And so I'm saying, hey, you should study in this way. And now they have to make a choice. Do they do their homework or do they spend their time studying using a different method, which I've recommended to them, which is probably much more effective than homework. And when they try to prioritize it, sometimes they'll prioritize homework because it's like, if I don't do it, I'm going to get in trouble. So it's like, cool. So what? What's the actual consequence? You're going to feel bad? Can you deal with that? Because if the answer is yes, that's not a very big consequence. Oh, if I don't do my homework, my teacher is going to give me a stern talking to. Okay. And then what? And so again, you want to be very clear about assessing importance, not just using our feeling, but being explicit about what is the consequence. Can we handle that? Can we recover from that or not? And sometimes we can change a task into a simpler, faster version of the task that mitigates the consequence that we're afraid of without having to commit to the original full version of the task. Like if it's about doing my homework, then the alternative is that, well, you just do your homework as quickly as humanly possible, just to the point where you're not going to get told off. Because that might only take you 15 minutes compared to 2 hours if you were to do it to the best of your ability. Of course, many of you are not doing homework if you're a working professional, but you get the idea. And then we've got this final quadrant here, which is stuff that is both not urgent and not important.
ตอนหลีนอนแล้วคุณทำงานแต่เช้าคนนี้นะคะสู้ๆได้เลยคุณมิ้นสวัสดีครับสวัสดีคุณมิ้นนะ
It's not urgent and there's no consequence. It's not a needle mover in your life. Just don't do it at all. And here's a hot tip: is try to put as many things into this quadrant as possible. Raise your threshold of importance until you're only doing the stuff that really matters, and get used to deleting things off of your task list. If it's important enough, it'll make its way back onto your list, and then you'll be able to reprioritize it later. Don't hold on to old priorities that you just kind of like cling to because you just don't really want to delete them. Just delete them. Unless you have the freedom of endless time, there's always something else you can do. And that something else might just be relax, do nothing at all, have some me time, just chill out. If I can choose between sitting on the couch, relaxing, watching a TV show that I like in an evening, so I can just unwind from the day,
อย่าลืมดื่มน้ำนะ
doing something on my delete quadrant,
บอกตัวเองได้เลย
not important or
เอาเลยจ้า
consequential in my life or urgent, there is no chance I'm going to be doing that. I'm sitting on the couch 10 out of 10 times. It's better to do nothing at all than to do the thing that I'm in this quadrant. And the two biggest mistakes I see is the first one where I talk about is urgency trapping, where every day you're just doing only the urgent things and you're not doing the things that are not urgent but still important to you. The second one is that people do not put enough things to the quadrant. They are too afraid of consequences that do not matter, that they can just deal with. And when people feel really busy all the time, but they're not moving in their life in a way that they
ตัวอะไรอยู่
usually it's a
ดูเลคเชอร์อาจารย์อยู่
You're not going to be able to solve those issues unless you exit those two traps. So that's the eyes now members. And if you can use this, and you can use it in the way that I've explained, as ruthlessly prioritizing as I've explained, then most of your other time and task management issues will start fixing themselves. And until you do this, I wouldn't hold out much hope that anything's going to change or get better. This is ground zero for me. This is where improvement starts. So now let's talk about focus and attention management. So as a reminder, this is about being able to focus, concentrate, get into deep flow, and not procrastinate. And while this can be a complicated topic and psychology behind this is very complex, and there are lots of different tactics and strategies that you can use, the simplest way I think you should think about this is that there are short-term and there are long-term strategies to address this. The short-term strategies for each of these issues, like procrastination, solutions to procrastination, building habits, developing concentration, not getting distracted. The short-term strategies, these things tend to be very easy to apply. They tend to be pretty effective, but they're also often not sustainable. Either because it's literally too hard to sustain, as in it just takes too much effort to keep using that every single day, every time you need to get some work done, or the effect of it starts diminishing and it's just, you sort of get used to it. On the other hand, long-term strategies, these ones tend to address the underlying root cause. As a result, the effect is much more long-term and more permanent. But there's a very long time to value, which means that from the moment you start working on the long-term solution to the point it actually starts really solving the problem can be weeks, months, sometimes even years. And so the overarching approach is that you can use whatever short-term strategy is effective. By all means, use them. Change them around. One of them stops working, you can switch to another one. Do whatever needs to be done, but do it with the understanding that it is a short-term solution and that long-term, you will need a long-term solution. The issue comes from when we don't understand this clearly. When we use a short-term solution, assuming that this is now the true solution to the problem. Let's talk about procrastination as one common example. Procrastination is largely an emotional coping mechanism. It's less to do with the fact that you love social media or are addicted to gaming or whatever it is. And it's more to do with the fact that there's a task that has a lot of work that you anticipate and that makes you feel uncomfortable, eventually overwhelmed, and you get the sense that there's going to be a high amount of effort you need to put in to complete this task. And so to avoid that feeling of discomfort and overwhelm, we take the easier path, which is not like solving the issue, like getting the task done and now you're not feeling overwhelmed because there's nothing to do anymore. The easier part is just to avoid that and trigger a happy feeling by getting distracted. And so it's a cognitive emotional shortcut. And so you can use short-term solutions like app blockers to remove these distractions, and you certainly should do that because it makes life easier for you. However, even when you do all of that, if the underlying issue is still there, and every time you encounter a big piece of work, the only strategy you know is either suffer through it and just do it, or find an easier alternative not to feel that way anymore. Even when everything is blocked, you will find something else. You'll start picking up distractions you never would have even touched before. I remember one time when I was in like a really bad procrastination rut a couple of years ago. I'd like blocked off all the normal distractions. And for me, a big one used to be Instagram, so I blocked off Instagram. And I was in a period with work. And I remember sitting there, huge project that I needed to start on. And instead of starting on it, I actually went onto the App Store to look for a new mobile name to download and play it. Like, I don't normally do that. I created like a whole new behavior just to look for an easier alternative rather than facing that work. So that's a psycho-emotional thing. Nothing to do with the distraction themselves. So the problem isn't me. And if I don't recognize
ในเวลาพักชิสเตอร์ดีเทคก็พักว่ะไม่ทันแล้วช่างมัน
and then expect that is going to be the problem solved for the rest of my life. And that's not true. The problem will come back because the underlying reason is still there. So what I'm going to focus on are some key trends that I've observed in terms of long-term solutions that do actually work. And in terms of the short-term solutions, I think, I've talked about some of the short-term strategies, practice other videos before. Just use whatever works. I'll give you a couple that I would recommend that you can start with because they can be very painful short-term solutions. But understanding that whatever short-term solution you're using, that just gives you a bridge, some space to start building and working on these long-term solutions. Because once those short-term solutions come to an end, you're getting diminishing returns that are not effective for you anymore. You need that long-term solution there. If those short-term solutions, you exhaust all of them, and you don't have a long-term solution left, now you're in a worse place than when you started because you still have a problem, you're still procrastinating, you still can't focus, you still can't concentrate, and now you don't have good high-yield short-term solutions to use. We'll start with short-terms. The two that I would recommend that start with are blockers and accountability. So blockers are types of solutions that eliminate distraction or problem. So app blockers, website blockers are examples of this where the thing that you normally get distracted on is just can't access it anymore. And the most important requirement
อยากพักอะ
is that it
ว้าแบบไม่ได้อยากพักอ่านหนังสือนะแบบอยากพักไลฟ์เออ เฮ้ยทุกคนเดี๋ยวลงไลฟ์แล้วนะ เดี๋ยวลงไลฟ์แล้วนะ ไลฟ์มานานแหละว้าหรือไม่ลงดี หรือไม่ลงดี แล้วก็นั่งอ่านหนังสือต่อนี่แหละ แต่ว่า เออคือไม่ใช่อะไร คือคิดเขาจะไปซื้อของข้างนอกด้วยแป๊บหนึ่ง ใช่ จะไปซื้อของกินมาเติม เดี๋ยวไม่มีข้าวกินพรุ่งนี้ แล้วเดี๋ยวกลัวว่าถ้ามันดึกเกินช็อปมันจะปิดนะคะ ก็เลยก็จะลงไลฟ์ไปซื้อก่อน แกทิ้งเพราะเราโดนทิ้งแล้ว พูดอย่างนั้นทุกคนไม่เคยทิ้งหรอก อ๋อหยอกกัน ฉันโดนทิ้งหลายรอบแล้วฉันทิ้งบ้างเถอะนะ เฮ้ยเราเจอกันถ้ากลับมาเร็วอาจจะมาขึ้นไลฟ์ต่อได้